out. It spins. Take a videotape for Granny and Grandpa, TJ, so you can see how good you're doing. What? This is the stuff that's kind of sweet on your bones. Instant calories. It's like spinach, pot pie. It's like spinach. Oh. And I'll get it filled up. Okay, you ready? Take it. That's it. Okay. So, cheers. Happy New Year. Mwah. Happy New Year. You too, yeah? Okay. Good luck. Come on. Come on. Look. There's your mother's horse down there now. Poured in my sleeve. Hang on to it. Don't let it go. Hang on. Don't pour it in your, where? Hang on. Okay. Drink some more? Do it again? Here. We got. Ready? 1, 2, okay. Green. Uh-oh, this is from Reitman. You suppose they got the wrong gift for the wrong person? If this is the nightgown, we're sending it back, right? Aha! Pajamas. Straw. Fabergé Bruce. This must be for the nurses. See? Think that's for the nurses? Well, hold it. Take it. Hang on. Take it. Yeah. Correct. Into the car. Really nice, great pajamas. Looks like you have them. Don't act like them, though. Best wishes for the future and hope you enjoy Christmas stuff. Hurry. Say you know and say Merry Christmas. We will try to get to see you over the holidays. See? So get
Tonight, we go to Crosstown, Nova Scotia for a moving story of human courage.
It happened just before 8 o'clock, and we had opened the store, and then I went down. They were putting Colin in the ambulance at that time.
I guess shock protects you and hope protects you. But what they were trying to tell me was that they didn't even know why he was alive.
People across the land, here we are on the road again. Hello again, everyone, and welcome to our program. You know, in our travels across the country, we meet a lot of wonderful people. But every once in a while, we meet someone whose story touches our lives in a very profound and lasting way. Tonight, we have such a story. It's about a young man from Nova Scotia who survived a terrible accident. He fought back against all the odds and won. He made it because of the love of his family, the love of his community, but mostly because of his own personal conviction that he would. This is the story of Colin Porter. Crystal Beach has a haunting, peaceful sort of beauty that makes it a perfect place for Sunday strollers.
Fields out there on the Rostad?
Until 2 years ago, Colin Porter used to jog along here with just his dog Quaker for company. Today, Colin's mother Julie and her husband Butch have to be with Colin when he wants to visit the sea.
It's your worst nightmare that you don't allow yourself to even explore in your imagination, because it's not something that that can happen to your child.
This is Lunenburg County on the south shore of Nova Scotia. Pretty white churches, tidy little towns, farms tucked away on hillsides. It's a place where traditional values still mean something, where neighbors look after neighbors and help each other through the bad times. The Hughes farm is typical of most you find around here. A century-old farmhouse, a few geese waddling about in the yard, an assortment of sheds and buildings.
How's my Patsy?
She's in agony.
Poor Patsy.
But it's the horse barn where Julie and Butch spend most of their time. In fact, love of horses brought this family together.
Maybe if you take Patsy, she'll have a foal for you down there.
Julie has been raising Morgan horses for years. She loves their beauty and their spirit. Butch prefers his Belgians. He likes their strength and the fact that they can work the fields. The Hughes farm wasn't always like it is today. Butch wasn't even in the picture back when Julie first came here 10 years ago. She was recently divorced, and she and her young son, Colin, decided to make a new life for themselves in Nova Scotia.
We wanted very much to live on a farm. So I said to Colin, who was then at age 13 or 13 and a half, if we stay, first of all, we have to be warm enough, not warm, but warm enough. There's no heat in this house. And I absolutely must be able to have a bath. When I came home one day, he said, look, Mom, you know, turned on the taps, and there was hot and cold running water in the bathroom. So,
how did that feel?
Well, I was amazed. I was just amazed. And he was so proud of himself. He was just like, you know, see, I told you I could do it. And he was so proud of himself. He was just beaming.
Along the way, Butch came into their lives. The three of them joined forces, and their days were filled with work on the farm and with their ever-expanding stable of horses. Colin learned by Butch and Julie's example the importance of family and community.
He was the kind of guy that would never say no. He would never say no if you needed a hand. If he came to somebody's house and they were trying to dig a rock out of their driveway, or they were doing something, you know, putting siding on their house, or doing something that Colin knew how to do, which was considerable. And they looked like they needed a little help. Well, Colin would be there for the rest of the day helping them.
By the time he was 20, Colin was working for a local cabinet maker. But his big dream was to one day join the RCMP. Life was good for the three of them. They had their horses and they had their dreams. But in 1989, Julie had a run of bad luck, one event after another. She broke her pelvis, suffered a serious neck injury, and had a mild stroke. Now, as if that wasn't enough, Julie was out riding her prize Morgan Stallion Fiddler one day when the horse fell, severing all the tendons in its front legs. It was a very serious and costly injury.
I said, what in the world else can happen to us? I said, this has been such a terrible, terrible year. How, you know, how in the world could anybody have so many things happen to them? The next morning at 8 o'clock, the phone rang. And Butch was on the phone talking to Billy Teal, and I heard the ambulance go by down the road. And Butch just took the phone. When he hung up, he just took the phone and yanked it out of the wall and went bang and threw it in the corner. And he said, Colin has had a terrible accident. We have to get to the hospital right away.
Just before 8 o'clock, and we had opened the store, and then I went down. They were putting Colin in the ambulance at that time.
Bill and Dawn Teal's store is just down the road from where the accident happened.
It was probably one of the worst accidents I've ever seen, as far as the vehicle being smashed, especially on the driver's side. As far as I can see, Colin was following the gravel truck, and it appears that he tried to pass it, and it was making a left turn into a driveway.
Colin was rushed from Bridgewater to the Victoria General Hospital in Halifax. Doctors operated immediately. They performed an emergency tracheotomy. Just before he slipped into a coma, Julie gave her son an important message.
I said, no matter what happens, you remember that you stay here. This is your mother speaking, and you stay here. I said, no matter what happens, no matter what the future holds for you in this, you stay here with me. And he patted me on the hand, and he said, somehow he communicated to me, okay, Mom.
So this is your carotid canal. He suffered several fractures of his facial bones, including what we call burst fracture of the orbit. All the bones around his sockets of his eyes were broken.
Fracture of the cheekbone, severe multiple fractures through the entire midface.
He had 5 missing teeth, all of them in the front, 3 missing on the top, 2 in the bottom. He had 5 fractured teeth.
He also suffered fracture of his right thigh bone, a compound comminuted fracture of his right lower leg bones. Left wrist was fractured.
Comminuted fractures of the mandible. Both necks of the mandible were fractured at close to the joint. And there were multiple fractures across the left side of the mandible, extending from the midline right back to the angle of the jaw.
In addition to a brain injury, which was quite significant as well.
When I saw him down there, I really thought, well, this guy probably won't even make it to our floor.
I guess shock protects you and hope protects you. You don't realize at that point what it is that you're dealing with. But what they were trying to tell me was that they didn't even know why he was alive.
In those first 2 weeks after his accident, while he was in intensive care, Colin underwent several operations. 12 metal plates were inserted in his face to replace the broken bones. 2 plates went into his right leg from knee to ankle. He remained in a deep coma. Nurse Suzanne Poirier saw Colin when he was first admitted and looked after him when he came to her floor.
And at that point, he was really what we thought, more or less a vegetable. There was no facial expressions. He was just there. And
Although there was no real medical reason to expect Colin to come out of it, Julie never gave up hope. She stayed by his side. Ward clerk Millie McPhee remembers.
Day and night, she bathed him and sang to him and showed him pictures of his horses and saying, Colin, do you remember this? And she brought in his favorite tapes, you know, and they'd play them and be still nothing.
The nurses tried to get me to teach him to blink as a response to yes or no, but he couldn't. Like he'd start blinking and then he'd keep on blinking, or he'd close his eyes and then he wouldn't open them again.
5 long weeks passed. It was Christmas. Even though they didn't know if Colin was aware of it, Julie and Butch brought in a tree, decorated it, and sang carols to him. Then, on January the 5th, 47 days after Colin's accident, Julie arrived in his room, just like always.
So I go in, and I went in my little patter, you know, hi, Colin, how are you this morning with, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I hear, I said, turned around and I looked at him, I said, did you make a noise? And he smiled at me, and he went, And I just yanked him out of the bed. I said, did you say I love you? I said, do it again, can you do that again? And he's, this big smile, you know, he's gone. He went, I said, can you talk now? Does that mean you can talk?
The Nova Scotia Rehabilitation Center in Halifax.
Robbie, do we have Colin's file?
Dr. Punkesh Dhawan is a specialist in physical medicine and rehabilitation here. He was one of the consulting physicians on Colin's case from the very beginning.
The change was somewhat dramatic. He regained his voice. He started communicating with people. And he also became responsive. In other words, he started very dependably moving his one hand and one foot in response to questions. So that was a significant change. That means he had rehabilitation potential.
Colin's progress was remarkable. These hospital videos, taken just a few weeks after he came out of his coma, show him learning to walk again.
It's great. You're doing well.
I don't know whether medical science really knows today what heals people. I do believe that a very supportive environment and a happiness inside definitely helps.
On January 27th, the community back home held a benefit dance for Colin. The hall was packed.
It was overwhelming. It was just overwhelming. I mean, to me, it was the love of this community that pulled Colin through, that pulled us through, and it sort of picked us up and carried us along.
I don't dance very much. I'm not much of a dancer, but I said to Colin, I heard they were going to have this dance. I said, if you can get to this dance, they didn't know whether he was going to be able to get there or not, but I said, you can get this dance, I'll dance every dance. And I think I did.
Yeah.
I danced every dance that night.
Hi, Butch. This is Colin. How are you doing?
This is Colin Porter today, the young man who by most accounts should never have made it.
Hi, Mom.
How you doing?
Good.
After 7.5 months in the hospital, Colin is going home.
How's my favorite fella?
I'm getting there.
It's good. You look good.
Thank you. You too.
So you think you're going to be strong enough to take Prudence out and put her...
Colin's comeback borders on the miraculous, but he's still got a long way to go.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll just put the lunch lines on the hall.
I think the last major hurdle will be the face.
Plastic surgery.
Yeah. They have to bring his jaw out as much as 1.5 inches, because it was just pushed. It was just pulverized.
His teeth now is just hitting in the back.
He had a basal skull fracture that went from ear to ear behind his jaw.
Mom's going to get the doctor, like, lots of pictures of me before. And he's going to examine them and use his three-dimensional image on this computer. And he's going to fix it, basically.
Now, they're going to fix you the way you were before, or are you looking for more of a Robert Redford look?
Well, actually, I'd just like to be the same.
Colin's determination to be the same, to get back the life he once had, means building up his strength again, little by little, every day.
One day, Mom said to me, "Why don't you go in and get the mail?" I thought, well, sure. Sounds like a plan. Build up my arms and that. That's something I've been wanting to do, is build up my arms, because being out of the rehab now, I haven't been doing much physiotherapy. But pushing up that hill sure built up my arms.
When the gravel truck hit Colin, it did more than shatter his body. It shattered his dream of joining the RCMP.
I used to think I had such a good chance because I was tall and I had I was agile. Oh, what other words I'm looking for? I was strong, tough. I guess, like, I thought I was the perfect candidate, so. You know, I wrote a letter to my friend Darren there the other day, and I said, if I could get in the RCMP, I'd probably be the only person running around chasing crooks in a wheelchair.
Does nothing stop you?
Not much. Somebody might be able to shoot me in the head or something, but it'd likely bounce off all the metal in my face.
Were you walking 2 months ago when you came home?
Only with like 2 canes. A little bit.
Now you're down to 1.
Yeah. Seems like it's taken an eternity just to be able to walk around again. Yeah.
But it's only been months.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm impatient. I'm looking forward to riding my horse, like, get me limbered up. But apparently the doctor won't let me do that just yet.
You're ahead of the doctor's wishes.
Yeah.
Are you ready to ride? Do you think you're ready?
Well, I feel like I like to. I mean, he's worried about me falling off or something and hurt myself. Whereas my leg's all metal in that. All the reins.
Colin has endured more in a few short months than most people go through in a lifetime. And even when the doctors are all finished, Colin will still have to deal with his brain injury.
You want to drive? Like, I had to have some help with Butch on the lunge line with the horse, because my head injury, I sometimes get mixed up. Don't know where I'm going, like whether to turn left or right or hold the horse straight or how to do it.
Part of Colin's head injury requires prompting, like it's there, but if you ask him the question, he'll say, I don't know, and he's lost, he's stuck. But if you give him just a little bit of something to get him, so he calls it jump starting.
Jump starting?
Yeah. He said if you give him a jump start, then he can remember, and then he can think about it.
It's been a tough struggle, but Colin now sees brighter days ahead. And when you consider the battles he's already won, for Colin Porter, anything is possible.
Mom says that, like, there's a book on brain injuries, and it says one of the first things that you lose is your determination. She also says somebody forgot to read me the book.
Good for you. I can see through the rain a brighter day. I believe that sunshine is coming my way. I can see a light just across the way. I believe my dreams are leading me to brighter days. Brighter days, brighter days coming my way, with my mother's love to guide me every step of the way. Roll away, I'm gonna roll those clouds away. My dreams are leading me to brighter days. I believe my dreams are leading me to brighter days. Since we filmed Colin Porter's story a few months ago, there have been some changes. Colin is now walking without any cane or crutch at all. And he's hoping to enroll in a life skills program in New Hampshire so that he can be totally independent. We wish him well and hope that all his dreams come true. That's our program for tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Brighter days, brighter days coming my way, with my mother's love to guide me every step of the way. Roll away, I'm gonna roll those clouds away. My dreams are leading me to brighter days. I believe my dreams are leading me to brighter days.
County was almost killed in a car accident. He slipped into a coma and the prognosis was not good. But a miracle happened. A story about survival when we come back. Stay with us. A story which is truly inspiring. A story which reminds us that ordinary people are capable of extraordinary things. Well, on this holiday Monday, we have one of those stories. It's about a young man from Lunenburg County who was cut down in his prime by a terrible car accident in 1989. His body took the full force of the impact. Most people thought he was finished, but he didn't think so, and neither did his mother. What happened next is considered by some people to be a miracle. The reporter is Wayne Rostad from the CBC show Colin Porter. Last weekend, our reporter, Dan O'Connell, visited the family farm in Lunenburg County to check on Porter's...
This is Colin Porter today. No wheelchair, no canes to help him walk. And with every day that he's feeling better, more of those old familiar chores.
Sometimes I get tired, but I just sweat through it. Hi, Annie. How you doing, babe? Hey?
Colin's leg and foot still hurt, but he doesn't let that slow him down. He and Julie spend their days looking after their prized horses and ticking off the days until Colin goes back into hospital for reconstructive surgery to his face.
He's a grand champion. Yeah. Meet you.
The whole ordeal has brought them closer together and strengthened their faith.
We feel now, having experienced what we've experienced, the miracle that Colin survived the incredible injuries that he had in the face of such tremendous odds that he would not. We feel that it's hard to believe that anybody would not believe that there's a God. There has to be. There is.
I sometimes think that, like all the doctors and everything didn't think that I'd live, but I sometimes think that God pulled me through just because he saw wrong was being done. And he didn't like that, so he left me around to put it right about that.
One of the ways Colin hopes to make things right is through the courts. He's suing the owners of the dump truck that hit him.
I just feel like somebody stole my life. I wish that it didn't happen.
Now watch your step. I'd watch mine.
But Colin isn't interested in letting his life stop here. In the spring, he's planning to take a computer course in Halifax. Given his record for beating the odds, no one, not even his doctors, should bet against him.
At first, they never expected me to see. They never expected me to hear because all the bones were broken in my ears. And they never expected me to talk. But I remember that day when I started to talk, all the doctors and the VT just showed up. even the surgeons, everybody. It was kind of neat. I fooled them all.
Well, they're happy.
Yeah.
Dan O'Connell, CBC News, Crosstown, Lunenburg County.
On how Colin Porter is today, we wish Colin all the best in the future.